Bavaria, land of joy, land of hospitality. Bavarians call their way of life Gemütlichkeit, that inimitably Bavarian form of conviviality, good for the body and good for the soul. And beer is an integral part of Gemütlichkeit. Bavarian beer culture is truly unique in the world, unsurpassed in quality and variety. Bavarians may not have been the first people to brew beer. That honor goes to the ancient Sumerians, who made a beer-like drink from half-baked loaves of bread. However, any quest for the origins of the fabled art of German brewing will inevitably lead you to Bavaria. A 2,800-year-old beer amphora discovered in northern Bavaria, the oldest proof of brewing in the region. There is also a complete brewery unearthed near Regensburg. It was built around 178 AD.
Die Archäologen, die auf die Idee gekommen sind, dass es sich hier um eine römische Brauerei handeln könnte, gingen von den Einrichtungsgegenständen aus, die hier innerhalb eines Gebäudes gefunden worden sind. Es geht einerseits um den Brunnen, aus dem man das Wasser gewinnen konnte, zum Zweiten um ein Becken, in dem man das Grünmalz ankeimen lassen konnte, das Grünmalz also herstellen konnte und letztendlich auch die Gärung durchführen konnte. Zum Dritten um eine Darre, in der man das Malz trocknen bzw. rösten konnte und schließlich um eine Feuerstelle, wo man die Bierwürze einkochen konnte bzw. noch Zutaten, die ins Bier kamen, herstellen konnte.
Throughout the Middle Ages, brewing was always a game of chance. Though brewers understood malted grains, they did not yet have a clue about the causes of alcoholic fermentation. Yeasts hadn't been discovered yet, and brewers thought that alcohol was simply a compound hidden in the grain, and that it just needed to be liberated by a cleansing process, by fermentation. Not surprisingly, in the old days, bakers were often the best brewers. Obviously, the air in a bakery was always laden with plenty of yeast spores, which, when in contact with a fresh brew, would always bring about immediate and vigorous fermentation. Unfortunately, if the wrong yeast spores, so-called wild yeasts, visited the brew, things would go awry. The beer would be spoiled and became undrinkable. And brewers sometimes used all sorts of additional ingredients in their beers, mostly to cover up bad flavors.
Es wurden alle möglichen Rohstoffe mit eingesetzt, alle möglichen Cerealien, aber auch sonstige Kräuter und Drogen. Und man hat also nie richtig gewusst, was da jetzt im Bier alles drin ist. Es waren teilweise auch unerwünschte Substanzen vorhanden. Binsenkraut oder Ochsengalle, es sind also alle möglichen Sachen verwendet worden.
But all this changed with one momentous act, the proclamation by Duke William IV in 1516 of the now famous Bavarian beer purity law, the Reinheitsgebot. We particularly wish, declared the Duke, that forthwith and always, in all our cities and markets, and in the countryside, no ingredients other than barley, hops, and water be used in beer. This purity law is still on the books today. Bavarian beer and Bavarian brewmasters became legendary. One such brewer was Josef Groll, who created the Pilsner, the world's first ever blonde lager. Bavaria is also the place where some of the best brewing ingredients come from. Over the centuries, Bavarian brewers have used these raw materials to develop an unequaled variety of beer styles, some 40 in all, including Dunkel, Helles, Märzen, Hefeweizen, and Bockbier. No beer culture can boast of more beer styles than Bavaria. Bavarian beer, it is truly unique in the world. Bavaria is a land blessed with stunning scenic beauty, ancient history, and a vibrant modern culture. And of course, beer, the people's liquid gold. Bavarian beer, like Bavaria itself, is steeped in tradition, a brewing tradition based only on the purest, all-natural ingredients. Bavaria's nature yields a bounty of treasures that give Bavaria's beer its precious and unique quality. The water is clear and unpolluted, the soil is rich, the fields are verdant, producing Bavaria's world-renowned brewing barley and hops. Bavarian brewers use only the purest water. The specifications they apply to their brewing water tend to be even more stringent than those required by law for municipal water. Many breweries draw their water from clear artesian wells, some more than 300 feet deep. However, not all brewing water is alike. In some regions, the water is naturally hard from dissolved salts and minerals, while in others it is naturally soft with just a few trace elements.
Früher war es so, dass die Wasserqualitäten regional sehr unterschiedlich waren. Zum Beispiel im Münchner Raum hatten wir sehr karbonathaltige Wässer. Das hat dazu geführt, dass die Biere meistens sehr dunkel waren und auch im Geschmack etwas härter waren. Deshalb gab es früher in München besonders dunkle Biere, mit dunklem Malz auch hergestellt. Im Pilzen dagegen ist das Wasser sehr weich und das hat dann eben dazu geführt, dass schlanke, helle Biere produziert werden konnten. Und im Dortmunder Raum, da haben wir zwar auch sehr viel Carbonathärte gehabt, aber zusätzlich noch mehr Nicht-Carbonathärte, sodass die Biere etwas salzhaltiger waren und etwas voller.
Thanks to modern science, brewers nowadays can adjust their water to the requirements of any beer style they wish to make. Even the ancient Egyptians knew about malted barley as the best grist for making beer, and malt from Bavarian two-row summer barley is the most sought-after raw material by quality breweries all over the world. But not every barley corn ends up as brewer's grist, because Bavaria's maltsters use stringent selection criteria before they accept any barley shipment for malting. Most importantly, the average kernel size must be large and the protein content must be low. Bavarian farmers also plant plenty of wheat for the increasingly popular Bavarian Hefeweizen. They also grow small quantities of rye and spelt for malts used in specialty beers. Hops are indispensable in modern beer making. They serve as natural preservatives and give beer its inimitable bitterness. Valuable etheric hop oils impart a delicate aroma to beer, which reverberates in the long lingering finish of a fine brew.
Wenn wir hier eine Dolde öffnen, dann sehen wir hier die Inhaltsstoffe, also das Lupulin, das wird verwendet für den Hopfen. Das sind die Blätter außenrum, das ist eigentlich nur Beiwerk. Der Hopfen ist die Seele des Bieres, sagt man, und ja, macht einmal die Schaumbildung, ist für die Haltbarkeit zuständig und natürlich für die Bittere.
Hops not only affect the character of beer, they also affect the character of the landscape in which they grow. The Bavarian Hallertau region, northeast of Munich, is a small triangular patch of land, barely 70 square miles in area. Yet it is the largest contiguous hop-growing area in the world, producing about a quarter of all the world's hops. Two other smaller hop-growing centers are near Spalt and Hersbruck in northern Bavaria. The stellar reputation of Bavarian beer rests not only on the superior quality of its ingredients, it is also founded in Bavaria's sheer endless beer variety. Thanks to the enormous skill, care, and artistry of Bavarian brewmasters, no other place has given the world more beer styles than Bavaria. Bavaria is not only the home of great beer, it is also the pantheon of brewing knowledge. At the Weihenstephan Brew University, location of the world's oldest continuously operating brewery, students from all continents have been earning their diplomas for more than 150 years. Malting is the first step in beer making. In the malting plant, starches in the barley corn are converted into malt sugars, which are needed later during fermentation. This conversion is initiated by enzymes that reside naturally in the grain. To activate these enzymes, the maltster first moistens the kernels. This stimulates germination, and the grain becomes so-called green malt, which needs to be dried before it can be shipped to the brewery. Drying takes place in a kiln, slowly and gently at low temperatures for pale malt, faster and vigorously at higher temperatures for dark or even roasted malt. The color and aroma of the finished malt determines the color and flavor of the beer made from it. In the brew house, the malt is coarsely milled and then mixed with warm water, a process called mashing. The temperature of the moist grain bed is raised in several stages from warm to hot. This reactivates the grain's enzymes and completes the conversion of starches to sugars that was started in the malting plant. The brewmaster uses an iodine test to determine whether the process is complete. Finally, the brewer drains the sugary extract, called wort, from the mash tun into the brew kettle, leaving the spent grain behind. This process, called lautering, resembles the brewing of filtered coffee. In the brew kettle, the wort is now flavored with hops and boiled vigorously. During the boil, hops flavors leach into the brew and volatile, raw-tasting grain compounds are driven off into the brew stack. The result is a clean brew with at least 11% malt sugar content for pale lagers and up to about 16% malt sugar for heavier beers, such as the strong Bock beer. After the boil, the brew is allowed to cool before it is pumped into a fermenter. There, the brewer adds or pitches the yeast, which converts malt sugars into alcohol and carbon dioxide gas. So-called bottom fermenting yeast works slowly at the bottom of the fermenter at low temperatures and makes lagers, while so-called top fermenting yeast works faster at the surface of the brew at room temperature and makes ale. The initial or primary fermentation subsides when most of the malt sugars have been converted. At this point, the brewer pumps the beer into a conditioning tank, where a slow finishing or secondary fermentation takes place, during which the beer matures for about 4 weeks. Finally, after the brewmaster conducts a concluding taste and color test, the beer is filtered and filled into bottles and kegs. In Bavaria, beer is an indispensable part of everyday living, a basic food, the people's liquid bread. Beer is not only a joy to drink, it is also good for you. It is a healthy beverage, as long as it is consumed in moderation. Beer has fewer calories than other drinks and contains essential trace elements such as vitamins and minerals. In addition, non-alcoholic beers are excellent isotonic drinks after exercise. Just as wine in France, in Bavaria, beer is part of the culinary culture. Just think of spring vegetables braised in beer and butter, a roast of pork smothered in a dark beer sauce, or apple pie with a crust made from flour, butter, almonds, and beer. These are just a few delicious examples. The European Union has recognized the special status of Bavaria's beer and accorded it special protection as a controlled geographic appellation. Bavarian beer is unique in the world, and those who have tasted it surely know why.